The surrender came 17 hours before the deadline. Xerath had refused to give the order himself, his pride too great even in defeat. But his council had seen enough. They had watched their fleets burn. They had watched their soldiers fall. They had watched humans do the impossible over and over again until impossible no longer meant anything. A new Velthari leader, a female commander named Asara, who had opposed the war from the beginning, contacted Ambassador Nichols through an emergency channel. Her scales were gray with age, and her eyes held none of the cruelty that had defined Xerath's reign. "We surrender," she said simply. "Tell us your terms." The terms were surprisingly fair. Many in the galaxy had expected humanity to demand the complete destruction of the Velthari Empire. They had expected slavery, humiliation, endless punishment for the crimes committed against human worlds. Instead, Ambassador Nichols presented a different vision. The Velthari will disarm all offensive weapon systems, he read from the treaty document. The Velthari will pay reparations for damage caused during the conflict. The Velthari will never threaten any human world or any human ally again. He paused and looked directly at the Sara through the screen, and humanity will help rebuild what was destroyed. Silence followed his words. The Zara stared at him as if he had spoken in a language she did not understand. "You will help us?" she asked slowly. "After everything we did? After our attacks on your colonies? After our soldiers tried to murder your people?" "Yes. Why?" Nichols smiled. It was not a cruel smile or a victorious smile. It was the tired smile of someone who had seen too much fighting and wanted it to end. "Because that is who we are," he said. "We fight when we must. We protect our own at any cost. But when the fighting is done, we would rather build than destroy. You started this war because you thought we were weak. You were wrong. But you were also wrong about something else. You thought strength meant being willing to hurt others. Real strength is being able to destroy and choosing not to." The treaty was signed within days. Human ships that had come as conquerors stayed as helpers. Engineers who had built weapons now built hospitals and power plants. Soldiers who had killed Velthari warriors now worked beside Velthari civilians to clear rubble and restore homes. The galaxy watched in confusion. Council Elder Malin addressed the full Galactic Council, his crystal form glowing with colors that no one had ever seen before. Thousands of representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Hall, all wanting to understand what had happened. "Many of you witnessed the human declaration of war," Malin began. "You saw their fleet mobilize. You saw their soldiers fight. You expected conquest. You expected vengeance. Instead, you see this." He gestured to a display showing human aid workers distributing food to Velthari refugees, medical teams treating wounded enemy soldiers, construction crews rebuilding bridges and roads. This is the truth about humanity that we did not include in the classified files. Yes, they are dangerous. Yes, they are capable of terrible violence. Their history is written in blood, and their bodies are built for war. But that is not all they are. The display changed to show humans throughout history, not fighting but building. Cities rising from empty plains, bridges spanning impossible distances, ships that crossed oceans and then crossed the void between stars. Humans do not just destroy, they create. They do not just fight, they heal. They do not just hate, they love. And most remarkably, they can do all of these things at the same time. A murmur ran through the crowd. The Velthari attacked humanity because they saw soft bodies and assumed weakness. They saw kindness and assumed cowardice. They were wrong. Humanity is not kind because they are weak. They are kind because they are strong enough to choose kindness. And when that choice is taken away from them, when someone forces them to fight, they become the most dangerous force this galaxy has ever seen. Malin paused, letting his words sink in. The lesson here is simple. Do not threaten humanity. Do not attack their homes. Do not hurt their families. Treat them with respect, and they will be the most loyal friends you could ever have. Treat them as enemies, and you will not survive long enough to regret it. The council voted unanimously to grant humanity a permanent seat on a Security Council. No one objected. No one even suggested debate. Months passed. The Velthari Empire slowly transformed into the Velthari Republic, guided by leaders who had learned that strength without wisdom led only to destruction. Dazara became the first chancellor, and she made it her personal mission to ensure that her people never forgot the lessons of the war. On New Montana, Colonel Ben Taylor watched human and Velthari soldiers training together for the first time. The Velthari had requested to learn human combat techniques, hoping to reform their military into something more disciplined and less savage. Strange, is it not? Asked Dr. Lisa, the colony's physician, as she walked up beside him. A few months ago, they were trying to kill us. Now they want to be like us. Not strange at all, Taylor replied. That is what humans have always done. We turn enemies into friends. It takes longer than fighting, but the results last forever. In the training yard, Sergeant Nate Russo was demonstrating hand-to-hand combat techniques to a group of young Velthari recruits. One of them, barely older than a hatchling, raised his hand nervously. Sergeant, may I ask a question? Go ahead. After the war, when your people had won, why did you help us? My father died fighting against you. My home was destroyed by your ships. Why would you rebuild it? Russo was quiet for a moment. The other recruits watched him with wide, curious eyes. Because that is who we are, he said finally. We do not fight because we enjoy it. We fight because sometimes fighting is the only way to protect the people we care about. But the fighting is never the goal. The goal is what comes after. Peace, friendship, a future where our children do not have to be afraid. He looked at the young Velthari and smiled. Your father fought against us because he was told we were enemies. Maybe we were, back then. But today, right now, we are standing in the same training yard working toward the same future. That matters more than anything that happened before. The young Velthari thought about this for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. I think I understand, Sergeant. Thank you. Years later, historians would write about the human-Velthari War as a turning point in galactic history. Not because of the battles or the destruction, but because of what came after. Humanity had proven that they could be the deadliest species in the galaxy when threatened. But they had also proven something more important. They could be the kindest captain. Jack Harris retired from military service and became an ambassador himself, spending his final years building bridges between species instead of commanding warships. Kate Morgan took over the Orion's Dawn and led diplomatic missions to dozens of worlds, carrying humanity's message of peace through strength. Ambassador Nichols gave one final speech before stepping down from his position. The words would be quoted for generations. We are not dangerous because we can destroy. Every species can destroy. We are dangerous because nothing in this universe can break our spirit. Threaten us, and we will fight until there is nothing left. But offer us friendship, and we will move stars to keep you safe. That is what it means to be human. That is what it has always meant. On a quiet evening, on a small planet at the edge of known space, a young Velthari child asked her human teacher a question. Why do other species fear humans? The teacher, an elderly woman with kind eyes, considered her answer carefully. Because they do not understand us yet, she said. They see our strength and think that is all we are. They do not see what we use that strength for. What do you use it for? The teacher smiled and placed a gentle hand on the child's shoulder. To protect the ones we love. To build a better future. And to make sure that children like you can grow up in a galaxy that is a little less afraid. The child nodded, satisfied with the answer. Outside, the sun was setting over a world that had known peace for 5 years. Human and Velthari families walked together in the streets, their children playing games that mixed customs from both cultures. Ships from a dozen different species passed overhead, traveling freely through space that had once been divided by war. And somewhere, watching from a place beyond normal sight, the spirits of every human who had ever lived looked down at what their descendants had built. They saw the strength. They saw the compassion. They saw the unbreakable will that had carried their species from caves to stars. And they knew that humanity's story was only beginning. The deadliest species ever known was also learning to be the kindest. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all. The Velthari had never known what it felt like to be hunted. For 10,000 years, they had been the hunters. They had conquered dozens of worlds and bent entire civilizations to their will. Their empire stretched across 100 star systems. And every species they met learned to fear the sight of Velthari warships. Now the hunters were running. Sergeant Nate Russo crept through the darkness of a Velthari supply depot, his team of 6 moving like ghosts behind him. They had been dropped behind enemy lines 3 days ago, and in that time they had destroyed 4 ammunition stores, 2 communication towers, and a fuel refinery. The Velthari had no idea how humans kept appearing in places they should not be. "Target ahead," whispered Private Amy Cruz through her helmet radio. "Guard patrol. 4 tangos." Russo held up a hand, signaling his team to wait. The Velthari guards walked past their position, completely unaware of the humans lying motionless in the shadows just meters away. When the patrol had passed, Russo gestured forward. They reached the depot's main control center without triggering a single alarm. The Velthari relied too heavily on technology and not enough on instinct. They expected threats to come from space, not from small teams of determined soldiers who had trained their entire lives for exactly this kind of work. "Charges set," reported Corporal Danny Webb. "We have 3 minutes. Move out," Russo ordered. Secondary target is the Orbital Defense Coordination Hub, 2 kilometers north. As they slipped back into the night, the supply depot exploded behind them. By the time Velthari response teams arrived, Russo's squad was already gone, moving toward their next objective with the patience of predators who knew their prey could not escape. Far above, the main human fleet engaged a Velthari armada in a battle that would be studied for centuries. Admiral Donovan commanded from the bridge of her flagship, watching the tactical display with the calm focus of a chess master who could see 20 moves ahead. "Third Squadron, adjust heading by 12 degrees, she ordered. "Draw their left flank out of position." "They are not taking the bait," her tactical officer reported. "They will." "Give them another minute." The Velthari commander was smart, Donovan admitted. But smart was not enough when facing an enemy who had been planning for this moment for generations. Every human ship was faster than it appeared. Every weapon hit harder than expected. And every captain had been trained in tactics that the Velthari had never encountered. "There," Donovan said as the Velthari left flank shifted slightly. "They are moving. 4th Squadron, execute attack pattern Delta." Human ships surged forward, punching through the gap in the Velthari formation. Behind them, the main fleet pressed the attack, giving the enemy no time to recover. It was a technique humans had used for thousands of years on Earth, refined in countless wars and adapted for space combat. Find the weakness. Exploit it. Never let up. The Velthari fleet began to crumble. On the Velthari homeworld, High Commander Zirith received report after report of disaster. His supply lines were collapsing. His communications were disrupted. Human special forces were appearing on worlds deep within Velthari space, striking without warning and vanishing before anyone could respond. "How?" Zirith demanded. How are they doing this? None of his advisors had answers. The humans seemed to know exactly where to hit, exactly when to strike, and exactly how to disappear. It was as if they could read Velthari minds. The truth was simpler and more terrifying. Humans had spent centuries studying every spacefaring species they encountered. They had learned how the Velthari thought, how they organized, how they responded to threats. And they had built their entire military strategy around exploiting those patterns. The Velthari were predictable. Humans were not. Admiral Donovan's fleet reached the edge of Velthari home space in less than 2 weeks. The outer defenses fell quickly, their crews demoralized and unprepared for an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Captain Jack Harris led the assault on the Velthari command station, a massive fortress that orbited the homeworld itself. His ship, the Orion's Dawn, had been upgraded since the Council incident. It was no longer a diplomatic vessel. It was a weapon. "All hands, prepare for close combat," Harris announced over the ship's intercom. "We're going in." Kate Morgan worked beside him on the bridge, coordinating targeting solutions with the efficiency that came from years of practice. "Shields at full," she reported. "Weapons charged." "We are ready. Then let us finish this." The Orion's Dawn dove toward the command station, weaving through defensive fire that would have destroyed any other ship. Harris flew like a man possessed, pushing his vessel to its absolute limits. Behind him, a squadron of human fighters followed, clearing a path through the Velthari defenders. They breached the station's outer hull and docked in one of the landing bays. Harris led the boarding party himself, moving through the station's corridors with his rifle raised and his heart steady. Around him, his crew fought with the same cold determination that had carried humanity through every crisis in their history. They found Zirith in the central command chamber, surrounded by his personal guards. The High Commander stood nearly 8 feet tall, his scales gleaming under the harsh lights, his yellow eyes burning with hatred. "Human," Zirith spat. "You dare to come here? To my station? To my space?" "You started this," Harris replied. "I am here to end it." Zirith roared and charged. His guards moved with him, but Harris's team was ready. The fight was brutal and short. Human soldiers cut down Velthari warriors with precise shots and coordinated movements. Within seconds, only Zirith remained standing. The High Commander swung a massive claw at Harris, fast enough to cut a normal person in half. Harris ducked under the strike and drove his combat knife into Zirith's forearm. The Velthari screamed and pulled back, green blood dripping from the wound. "You cannot beat me," Zirith growled. "I am the strongest warrior of my species. I have killed thousands." "I believe you," Harris said. He circled slowly, watching for an opening. "You are probably faster than me. Definitely stronger. In a fair fight, you might win." Zirith lunged again. Harris sidestepped and landed a punch to the Velthari's throat, targeting the soft tissue beneath the scales. Zirith choked and stumbled. "But humans do not fight fair," Harris continued. "We fight to win. There is a difference." He attacked with a combination of strikes that no single style could counter, moves borrowed from a dozen martial arts that had evolved over thousands of years of human conflict. Zirith tried to defend, but he had never faced anything like this. Every block was countered. Every attack was anticipated. Harris was not stronger. He was not faster, but he had something Zirith did not. He had 10,000 years of combined human experience in the art of hurting other creatures, passed down through generations and refined into something terrifyingly efficient. Zirith fell to his knees, his body broken in a dozen places. Harris stood over him, breathing hard but steady. "We tried peace," Harris said quietly. "At the council, we tried to talk. We tried to be friends. You wanted war instead. You called us prey. You said we belonged on a plate." He leaned closer. "Look at me. Does this look like prey to you?" Zirith had no response. For the first time in his life, words would not come. "Tell your people to surrender," Harris said. "Tell them this war is over. Because if you do not, we will not stop at this station. We will not stop at your fleet. We will burn everything your empire has ever built. And when we are done, no one in this galaxy will remember that the Velthari ever existed." He stepped back and gestured to his team. "Get him to a medical bay. He needs to live long enough to give that order." As they dragged Zirith away, Kate Morgan approached Harris. Her face was pale but determined. "Do you think they will surrender?" she asked. Harris looked out the window at the Velthari homeworld below. Smoke rose from burning cities. Ships fell from orbit like dying stars. The proud empire that had threatened humanity was collapsing before their eyes. "They do not have a choice," he said. "They never did. They just did not know it yet." Ambassador Nichols broadcast to the entire galaxy from the captured command station. His message was simple. Humanity never wanted this war, but we will finish it. The Velthari can surrender now, or they can watch everything they have ever built be destroyed. The choice is theirs. They have 24 hours to decide. The countdown began. High Commander Zirith stood in the center of the Velthari War Council chamber, surrounded by the greatest military minds of his empire. His son had returned from New Montana with barely a quarter of his fleet intact and stories that sounded like nightmares. The council demanded answers. "Explain," Zirith growled at Korvax. "Explain how 50 warships lost to a single colony world." Korvax stood with his head bowed. The shame burned worse than any wound. "Father, they were not what we expected. They were not weak. Their technology was hidden. Their soldiers were unlike anything we have faced." "Impossible," one of the admirals said. "We have conquered species with far greater technology. No soft-skinned creature can match Velthari warriors. They do not fight like other species," Korvax said. "They do not stop when wounded. They do not retreat when outnumbered. They smile when they bleed. They laugh while they kill." The council muttered among themselves. Such talk bordered on cowardice. A chime sounded through the chamber. A message was arriving through official council channels. Zirith accepted it, and the ancient form of Elder Malin appeared as a hologram before them. "High Commander," Malin said, "I warned you not to start this war. Now, I am required by council law to share certain information with you. Information that was classified until your declaration of hostilities." "Speak your secrets," Zirith said. "Nothing you say will change what must happen. We shall see." Malin's crystal form shimmered. "I am sending you the complete file on species designation H7761, commonly known as humans. I suggest you study it carefully." The transmission ended, and data began flooding into the Velthari systems. Zirith ordered it displayed on the main screen. A smaller figure appeared beside the data, an elderly alien with too many eyes and thin fingers. Text identified him as Historian Velos, one of the galaxy's foremost experts on dangerous species. "I prepared this report centuries ago," Velos said in a dry academic voice. "The council asked me to study the humans when they first achieved space travel. What I found was deeply disturbing. The screen showed images of Earth, a planet of blue oceans and green lands that look peaceful from space. Earth appears pleasant," Velos continued. "This is deceptive. It is one of the deadliest worlds ever catalogued. The gravity is high. The weather is violent. The radiation from their sun causes cellular damage. The planet is covered with predators, parasites, poisons, and disasters." Images flashed across the screen. Massive storms, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, creatures with too many teeth, plants that killed with a single touch. In this environment, Humans evolved. And they did not merely survive. They conquered. The presentation showed early humans hunting animals 10 times their size. Small groups working together, chasing prey across endless distances. Humans are persistent predators, Velos explained. They do not have the speed or strength to catch most prey. Instead, they follow their targets for hours, days, however long it takes. They walk until their prey collapses from exhaustion. Then they kill it. Zirith watched silently. Around him, his council had grown quiet. Their bodies are remarkable, Velos continued. They can survive injuries that would kill most species instantly. They heal from wounds that should be fatal. Their immune systems are powerful enough to survive diseases that would wipe out entire civilizations. They can function without sleep for extended periods. They can survive without food for weeks and without water for days. The screen showed humans running through deserts, climbing mountains, swimming in frozen water. But their physical abilities are not what makes them truly dangerous. Their minds are the real threat. Images of human history appeared. Cities rising and falling. Armies clashing across every terrain imaginable. Weapons evolving from stone to steel to atom. Humans have been at war with themselves since they first walked upright. They have fought constantly for thousands of years. Every generation refined their tactics. Every war taught them new ways to kill. They have more experience with combat than any other known species. The screen showed something unexpected. Humans standing beside large four-legged creatures with sharp teeth. "This is a wolf," Velos said. "One of Earth's apex predators." Humans saw these dangerous hunters and decided to make them into companions. They did the same with many deadly species. Where other civilizations avoided predators, humans befriended them. More images appeared. Humans eating bright red fruits that should have caused pain. Drinking dark liquids that damaged their internal organs. Humans regularly consume poisons for pleasure. Capsaicin causes intense burning pain in most species. Humans put it on their food. Alcohol destroys liver cells and impairs brain function. Humans drink it at celebrations. Caffeine is a toxic compound produced by plants as a defense against predators. Humans cannot start their mornings without it. The council chamber was completely silent now. Perhaps most significantly, Velos concluded, humans possess an emotional characteristic that no other species has matched. They form bonds. With each other. With other species. With former enemies. A human who considers you a friend will die to protect you. A human who considers you family will burn worlds to keep you safe. The presentation ended. The screen went dark. Zirith stood motionless for a long moment. Then he spoke. "This changes nothing. They are still flesh and blood. They can still die." "Yes," said a quiet voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Korvax standing there. "They can die. But Father, I watched them die. They did not scream. They did not beg. They looked at us with hatred in their eyes and kept fighting until their bodies simply stopped working. And even then, some of them kept going." "Enough," Zirith snapped. "We will simply send more ships. More soldiers. We will overwhelm them with numbers." An alert suddenly sounded through the chamber. A communications officer rushed in with terror on his face. "Aye, Commander. We are receiving reports from the outer colonies. Human ships have been spotted in Velthury space." "What? How many?" "We are still counting, Commander. At least 300 vessels. They appeared from nowhere. Our early warning systems detected nothing until they were already inside our borders." Zirith felt something cold settle in his chest. The humans had not waited to be attacked again. They were already moving far away, in Earth's military command center. Admiral Claire Donovan studied the tactical display with calm satisfaction. 3 centuries of pretending to be weak, 3 centuries of hiding their true capabilities. And now, finally, humanity could stop holding back. "All fleet commanders report ready," her aide announced. General Derek Stone stood beside her, his arms crossed. "The Valkyrie think they started this war," he said. "They have no idea that we have been preparing for something like this since we first met other species. They called us prey animals," Donovan said quietly. "They said we belonged on a plate. I think it is time to show them what prey animals can do when they decide to fight back." She opened a channel to all human forces. "This is Admiral Donovan. For years, we have hidden our strength. We have pretended to be harmless. We did this because we wanted peace. The Valkyrie have made it clear that peace is not an option. So now they will learn the truth. We are not prey. We have never been prey. We are the species that hunted everything on our planet into submission. We are the species that tamed predators and survived extinction. We are humanity. And today, we remind the galaxy why that name should be feared." She paused, then added 5 words that would echo through history. "Show them what we are." The human fleet moved toward Valkyrie space, and the galaxy held its breath. The Valkyrie fleet arrived at New Montana 3 weeks after the incident at the Council Station. 50 warships emerged from faster-than-light travel and took position around the green and blue planet. From the command deck of his flagship, Korvax watched the human colony below with hungry eyes. Korvax was young for a commander, but he was the son of High Commander Zirith, and that name opened many doors. His father had given him this mission as a gift: conquer the human colony, bring glory to the Empire, prove that the Valkyrie were superior in every way. "Scan the planet," Korvax ordered. "Show me their defenses." The tactical officer worked his console. "Commander, I am detecting minimal orbital defenses. A few weapon platforms. Nothing that can threaten our fleet. Ground forces appear to be small. Perhaps 10,000 soldiers." Korvax smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "As expected. Open a channel to the planet." The communication screen flickered to life, showing a human male in a military uniform. He had gray hair and a weathered face. His name tag read Taylor. "This is Colonel Ben Taylor of the New Montana Defense Force," the human said. His voice was calm. Too calm for someone facing 50 warships. "State your business." "I am Commander Korvax of the Valkyrie Empire," Korvax announced proudly. "Your species has insulted our honor. We are here to collect what is owed. Surrender your colony immediately, and we will make your deaths quick." Colonel Taylor did not seem impressed. He did not seem afraid. He simply looked at Korvax the way someone might look at a child who had said something foolish. "You have one chance to leave," Taylor said. "Take it." Korvax laughed. His bridge crew laughed with him. "You threaten us? With what? Your toy weapons? Your fragile bodies? We will burn your cities and eat your children." "Suit yourself," Taylor replied, and the channel went dead. Korvax stopped laughing. He did not like being dismissed. "Begin orbital bombardment," he commanded. "Destroy their military bases. Then send the ground troops to clean up what remains." The Valkyrie ships opened fire. Plasma rained down on the planet below, striking the locations identified as military installations. Explosions bloomed across the surface. "Direct hits on all targets," the tactical officer reported. "Enemy defenses are destroyed. Launch the dropships," Korvax ordered. "I want boots on the ground within the hour." 20,000 Valkyrie soldiers loaded into transport vessels and descended toward New Montana. Korvax watched them go with satisfaction. This would be easy. This would be quick. His father would be proud. The first sign that something was wrong came 10 minutes after landing. "Commander," a ground officer reported over the communication system, We have reached the first city. It is empty. No civilians. No soldiers. Nothing. They fled, Korvax said. Cowards. Search the buildings. They must be hiding somewhere. Yes, Commander. We are spreading out to search. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The reports stopped coming. Ground team, report, Korvax demanded. Static. Ground team, respond immediately. Nothing. Then a single voice came through, shaking with fear. They came out of nowhere. From the buildings. From underground. From everywhere. They move so fast. They will not stop. They will not fall. Commander, please send help. Please send. The transmission cut off. Korvax stared at his communication screen. Around him, his bridge crew exchanged nervous glances. Get me a visual, Korvax ordered. Show me what is happening down there. The tactical screen switched to a camera feed from one of the dropships still in the air. What Korvax saw made his blood run cold. The streets were no longer empty. Humans swarmed through the city like insects, moving with perfect coordination. But they did not look like the soft creatures from the council station. They wore armor. They carried weapons. And they were cutting through Velthari soldiers like farmers cutting grain. A Velthari warrior charged at a human female, certain his size and strength would overwhelm her. She stepped aside, grabbed his arm, and used his own momentum to throw him to the ground. Before he could rise, she shot him twice in the head. Nearby, a group of Velthari had cornered a single human male. They attacked from all sides. The human took a claw slash across his chest that would have killed any Velthari instantly. He stumbled. He bled. And then he smiled. He kept fighting with his insides nearly visible through his torn uniform. He killed 3 of them before he finally fell, and even then he grabbed one by the throat and took it with him. This is impossible, Korvax whispered. The camera showed another scene. A human soldier had lost his weapon. A Velthari stood over him, ready to deliver the killing blow. The human grabbed a piece of broken metal from the ground and stabbed it through the Velthari's neck. Then he took the dead soldier's weapon and charged toward the next enemy. They do not stop, the tactical officer said, his voice hollow. We hit them. We wound them. They do not stop. One of the dropships exploded as a missile struck it from below. Then another. Human aircraft screamed up from hidden hangars, fighters that moved faster than anything the Velthari had expected. They tore through the remaining dropships, leaving nothing but fire and wreckage. Commander, someone shouted, we are detecting launches from the planet's surface. Human ships. Dozens of them. The tactical screen showed new contacts rising from New Montana. Not civilian vessels. Not cargo ships. Warships. Warships that the original scans had somehow missed completely. How? Korvax demanded. How did we not see these? Nobody answered because nobody knew. Colonel Taylor's face appeared on the communication screen again. This time, he was smiling. Behind him, Korvax could see a command center filled with calm, efficient humans coordinating the battle. I gave you a chance to leave, Taylor said. You should have taken it. This is not possible, Korvax said. You were supposed to be weak. You were supposed to be easy. Yeah, Taylor replied. Everybody says that. Right up until they don't. He cut the channel again. The human ships engaged the Velthari fleet. The battle was nothing like Korvax had expected. The humans did not fight like other species. They did not hold formations. They did not follow predictable patterns. They adapted. They improvised. They took risks that seemed insane, and somehow they made those risks work. Within 6 hours, half the Velthari fleet was burning wreckage. The ground forces had been completely destroyed. Not captured. Not routed. Destroyed. Korvax ordered a retreat. His surviving ships fled into faster-than-light travel, leaving New Montana behind. Before they jumped, one last transmission came through from the planet. It was not from Colonel Taylor. It was from somewhere in the ruins of the first city, where the fighting had been worse. Thought the transmission was audio only. It carried the sound of human laughter. Then a human voice, clear and cold. "Tell your father what happened here. Tell him this was just one colony. Tell him we have 1,000 more. And tell him we are coming." Behind the voice, Korvax heard his own soldiers screaming. Then silence dawned as his ship fled through the darkness between stars. Korvax sat alone in his quarters and wondered what his father had truly started. The humans were supposed to be prey. They were supposed to break. They had not broken. They had not even slowed down. And somehow, impossibly, they had smiled while they bled. For the first time in his life, Korvax understood what fear truly felt like. The Galactic Council space station floated in the darkness between stars, a massive structure of crystal and metal that had stood for 10,000 years. Inside its great hall, representatives from 100 different species gathered to witness something that happened only once every few centuries. A new species was joining the council. Captain Jack Harris stood near the back of the human delegation, his dress uniform feeling stiff and uncomfortable. He preferred the bridge of his ship, the Orion's Dawn, to these political events. But Ambassador Sam Nichols had insisted that all senior officers attend. This was humanity's moment. "They're smaller than I expected," a voice said nearby. The words came from a translator device, converting alien speech into English. "Look at them. No claws, no scales. Soft skin. How did they even survive on their homeworld?" Jack turned his head slightly. The speaker was a Velthari soldier, a reptilian creature that stood nearly 8 feet tall. His scales were dark green, and his eyes were yellow with black slits. The Velthari were known throughout the galaxy as proud warriors, who had conquered dozens of worlds. "Lieutenant." Kate Morgan stepped closer to Jack. "They've been making comments like that all evening," she whispered. "Should we say something?" "No," Jack replied quietly. "We're here to make friends, not enemies." Ambassador Nichols was speaking with Council Elder Malin, a being made of living crystal who had served the Council for over 2,000 years. The Elder's body caught the light and scattered it into rainbows as he moved. His voice sounded like wind chimes when he spoke. "Humanity shows great promise," Malin said. "Your species has achieved much in a short time." "We are honored to be here," Nichols replied with a slight bow. "Earth hopes to contribute to peace and cooperation among all species." A loud laugh interrupted them. High Commander Zirith, leader of the Velthari Empire, pushed his way through the crowd. He was even larger than the other Velthari, with golden decorations on his scales that marked his rank. His teeth were sharp and yellow when he smiled. "Peace and cooperation," Zirith repeated, making the words sound like an insult. "Is that what your weak species offers? We Velthari have built an empire through strength. What have humans built?" The room grew quiet. All eyes turned to the confrontation. Ambassador Nichols kept his expression calm. "We have built cities, Commander. We have built ships that cross the stars. We have built a civilization that values both strength and wisdom." Zirith snorted. "I see no strength here. I see soft creatures pretending to be warriors. Your kind are prey animals. You belong on a plate, not in this council." Several humans tensed at the insult, but Nichols raised a hand to calm them. "We did not come here to fight," he said. "We came to talk." "Of course you did," Zirith said, "because fighting would mean dying. That is all your kind is good for." One of Zirith's soldiers, a younger Velthari with fresh scars on his face, stepped forward. His eyes fixed on Kate Morgan with a predator's hunger. "This one looks particularly soft," he said. Let me show everyone how easily humans break. Before anyone could react, the soldier grabbed Kate's arm and twisted it behind her back. Kate gasped in pain as claws dug into her skin. Jack Harris moved without thinking. His training took over, and his body responded before his mind could catch up. He stepped forward, grabbed the Valkyrie's wrist, and twisted it at an angle that reptilian joints were not designed to handle. There was a crack like a breaking branch, and the soldier screamed. The Valkyrie fell to his knees, his broken arm hanging useless at his side. Jack released him and stepped back, his heart pounding but his face showing nothing. Silence filled the great hall. Nobody moved. Zirith stared at Jack with his yellow eyes wide. For a moment, something flickered across his face. It might have been surprise. It might have been doubt. But then his expression hardened into rage. "You dare?" Zirith roared. "You dare to attack a Valkyrie soldier?" "He attacked one of mine first," Jack said simply. His voice was steady. "I defended her. That is what humans do." "This is an act of war," Zirith declared. He turned to address the entire council. "You have all witnessed this unprovoked attack. The Valkyrie Empire demands satisfaction. We will teach these soft creatures their place in the galaxy." Council Elder Malin moved forward, his crystal body chiming with concern. "High Commander, please consider your words carefully. You do not want this war." "I do not want it," Zirith agreed with a cruel smile. "I look forward to it. The Valkyrie fleet will crush these humans in days. Their worlds will burn, and their species will learn to kneel." "You know nothing of these creatures," Malin said. His voice carried a warning that made several nearby aliens step back. "Their homeworld is classified for a reason. Their history is sealed. Please, Commander, walk away from this." Zirith laughed. "Classified? Sealed? You try to frighten me with secrets? There is nothing special about these animals. They are weak. They are soft. And they will die screaming when my ships arrive." He turned and marched toward the exit, his soldiers following. At the doorway, he paused and looked back at the human delegation. "Enjoy your last days of peace, humans. War is coming." Then he was gone. The hall erupted into worried conversation. Ambassadors from other species hurried away, not wanting to be connected to what had just happened. Within minutes, only the humans and Elder Malin remained. "I am sorry," Malin said softly. "I had hoped this would not happen. Is there anything we can do?" Ambassador Nichols asked. "Any way to prevent this war?" The crystal being shook his head slowly, light dancing through his form. "Zirith has made his choice. The Valkyrie will attack. They always do. It is their nature. Then we will defend ourselves," Jack said. Malin looked at him for a long moment. Something in the elder's ancient eyes looked almost sad. "Yes," he said finally. "I suppose you will." As the humans prepared to leave, Malin moved to a private communication terminal. He entered a code that had not been used in centuries and sent a message to Earth's government. The message was short. "They've made their choice. May the galaxy forgive us for what comes next." On the Orion's dawn, as the ship prepared to depart for Earth, Kate Morgan found Jack Harris on the observation deck. She stood beside him and watched the stars. "Thank you," she said, "for what you did back there." Jack nodded but did not smile. "We tried to be peaceful. We tried to be polite. And they still wanted war. What do you think will happen?" Jack was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was cold. "They think we're weak because we don't start fights. They're about to learn why we don't need to." The ship jumped to faster than light speed, and the stars stretched into lines of light. Somewhere behind them, the Valkyrie fleet was already gathering. Somewhere ahead, humanity was about to show the galaxy what it really meant to be dangerous. The war that would change everything had begun.